Hi, this is Gerald. It's Wednesday, March 14th, 2018, and here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front, over there in Asia, down. Europe, mixed. U.S., down. Go over there to gold, bloop, down a bit. Oil, boop, up a bit. Bitcoin, ba-ba-boom, down. Remember, it couldn't stay over that 11,000 mark. And now, because we're not going to allow you to advertise it on Google, following what Facebook did, and more talk about government regulations, they're having a tough time with this. But in the meantime, you're seeing positive movements with other banks around the world taking into consideration blockchain technology and even to the elements of different cryptocurrencies. So it's not over yet, but it has to go strongly over 11,000 for a Bitcoin for this thing to bounce higher. So the downside risk right now appears greater than the upside potential. But again, these things change. On the market front, the Dow was down well over 200 points. On the news that they are fearing a trade war with China. And President Trump tweeted, quote, "We cannot keep a blind eye to the rampant unfair trade practices against our country." And I agree with Trump 100%. I've gone over it over and over again about how slimy Bill Clinton and all the rest, Reagan, they all sold us out. Bush trying to push, quote, free trade, which really gives just the multinationals more and more consolidation and allows us to be workers in Slavelandia as they export our good jobs. And so we could shop at dollar stores back in the United States because that's all we could afford, because the numbers come in to show it. In economic news, the Commerce Department said retail sales declined for a third straight month as households curb purchases of cars and other expensive items. Oh, and guess what's going to happen? As those interest rates go up, they're going to curb purchases on cars a lot more. Yeah, those cars will be parked on the curb. They're not going to move anywhere. So you can see what's going on with this country. All the dough is going to the top, and the rich are getting richer. Economists had been expecting a rise of 0.3%. Wow, that would have been some rise, because in China, retail sales of consumer goods grew 9.7%. Look at what we're comparing over here. Again, Trump is calling it. They're getting richer, and we's getting poorer. Yep. China's industrial output expanded 7.2% year on year. Output for new energy vehicles, NEVs, up 178%. Industrial robot production jumped 25.1%. Think about it. NEVs, robots, because you keep talking about, if you will, NEVs, and then you read the stories here about what's going on and covering the current events forming future trends. Franco-Japan alliance steps up battery pace. Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi aims to make vehicles using solid-state devices by 2025. China, Japan, France, NEVs, robot production, artificial intelligence. Go back to what Eisenhower warned. The military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. Could you imagine, rather than spending tens of trillions to kill tens of millions, that the military-industrial complex stole from we the little people, not only our money, but our lives, went into science, creating a better future, where we would be? These little stupid, slimy jerks can't even create their F-35, a piece of crappy garbage just like the crap garbage that they are. Can you imagine if this money was going into benefiting humanity and increasing science? How dare you? We got to build a military. Losers. Cats haven't won a war since World War II. Guess you can't count that much, can you? Anyway, moving on to other economic news. Gold, bloop, blop. Still in that trading range, not going anywhere. Same with oil. Those fields keep building up and those stocks keep rising more. 5 billion barrels. And the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries also said oil inventories across most industrialized countries rose in January for the first time in 8 months, a sign the impact of output cuts may be waning. More production, more supply, outpacing demand. So oil's in that 60, 70 range. I've said it how many times, and that's where we see it staying. Going to the markets. Investors feel Goldilocks market is ending. Yep. They're saying for the first time in several years, they're reassessing their tolerance for risk. And many, it means boosting cash positions, slashing equity, or diversifying portfolios. We said this back in September. The markets have peaked. The Trump rally has peaked. And that's what you're seeing. Again, what's keeping the markets up is the same thing that's been keeping it up. More cheap money. And when that slows, you don't see a lot of this happening. Eon to acquire energy in 43 billion euro deal with RWE. That's right. More consolidation. Let the bigs get bigger, and you become a worker on a plantation in Slavelandia, because that's all these multinationals are. The bigger they get, the less you make. The numbers are there. Hedge funds placed $3 billion in bets against struggling advertising companies. Old news, old news. We've been writing about the death of advertising, and guess what? Even though Google and Facebook are getting a lot of that dough, the results don't show. It's in your Trends Journal. We've been writing about it over and over again. So, the other thing goes back to mergers and acquisitions. All these advertising companies, now they're big ones. So they're losing their creativity because they're bottom line cats and they are going down. Multinationals pay less tax despite curb on avoidance. Now, this is before the Trump tax cut. Effective rate drops 9% in a decade. Isn't that great? Multinationals are now paying significantly lower taxes than before the 2008 financial crisis, according to Financial Times analysis, showing that the decade of government efforts to cut deficits and reform taxes has left the corporate world largely unscathed. And the reason it's left the corporate world largely unscathed in Slavelandia is because you got a bunch of little low-life clowns called politicians that get bought off with campaign contributions, bribes, and payoffs. Again, put it all together. And what else do we have here? You ready? Ford is recalling nearly 1.4 million mid-sized cars in North America because the steering wheel can detach from the steering column and drivers could lose control. But we're going to have driverless cars. Yeah, you know what driverless cars are.
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
You got it. Don't see it happening. Oh, again, this is big news. Need cash? host a concert at home. That's right. People are hosting concerts in their house. They're charging people $12 tickets. This is old. Go back to those jazz songs. Yeah. House Rent Boogie. Yeah, we're going to play it at the end of this show. They had all these house rent parties. You throw a party, everybody chip in, and you help pay your house rent. So, it's coming back, but the cats don't know it. They think it's new. And what else do we have here? Ex-Cuomo aide convicted. Oh. Duh. More corruption? Pick a country near you. An extinguished scandal flares, threatening Abe's electoral future. Yep. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan offered to resign a year ago if evidence emerged linking him to a sweetheart deal. Yep. For more than a year, Mr. Abe deflected persistent allegations that he and his wife were involved in an arcane scandal involving an improper public land sale. Look at the language they use. Improper public land sale. They got the land for nothing that was worth a lot more dough, and they lied their way through it to corruption. Again, name a country near you, there's corruption near you. It never seems to end. How about this, folks? Britain to sell jets to Saudis despite role in Yemen. That's right, we had the prince over there last week to go visit Theresa May, who's in a lot of trouble. Her ratings are down, the Brexit thing's a disaster, as well as the British government. So they need some dough. And what did they do? On the last day of his visit by the Saudi Crown Prince, Britain approved the sale of 48 highly advanced fighter jets so they could slaughter more innocent people in Yemen. So now the press starts coming down with her, and what does she do? Britain blames Russia for spy poisoning. Quote, the government has concluded that it is highly likely that Russia was responsible for the act against Sergei and Yulia Skripal. Oh, highly likely? Got any proof? We don't need proof. It's highly likely. You're a bunch of lying bastards. You lie about everything, like Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction. Like you lied about Gaddafi. Oh, like you're lying, lousy English. Sun never sets on the English empire English, huh? And everybody buys the crap. Well, except the Russians. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called on London to provide a sample of the substance used in the attack on the former spy. Oh, a former spy, they asked her if they won't give it to him. Show us some proof. A former spy. Hey, English. It wasn't Mary Poppins or Mother Teresa. It's a damn spy. And this is news. It's all the news. And it never stops. Russia trolls try to sink Romney pick. Yeah, when they wanted to pick him for Secretary of State. Romney, slomney, garbage jerk who never gets his way and keeps running for office. Hey, you like being governor of Massachusetts? I think I'll move to Utah and run for senator. Yep, that's the crap. Hey, Russians try to sway U.S. energy debate. Woo! Italy has dumped America for Russia. A stupid moron story of absolute crap by a jerk. Frank Bruni. This guy used to write about restaurants and stuff. And now the clown's an expert. It's a bunch of garbage. And this is what the garbage, the toilet paper record puts out, with their arrogance and their stupidity. Oh, Salenti, don't get angry. Angry? Go vote. This is a fragile moment for the nation. The integrity of democratic institutions. What democratic institutions? You got a gang running the show, morons. Murderers and thieves, Republicans and Democratic criminals with facts are there, folks. How they folked us with too big to fail. How I show you how the rich are getting richer and all the wars that these war criminals start on lives. But nobody goes to jail because they're too big to fail and too big to throw in jail. They go on to say, if you are horrified at what's happening in Washington and in many states, you can march in the streets. You can go to town halls and demand more from your representatives. You can share the latest outrageous news on your social media feed. All worthwhile activities, but none of it matters if you don't go out to vote. F you. Don't you tell me that I have to vote for one of the criminals that you like. Prostitutes who get paid out to put out. They get paid to put out by their corporate johns and their Washington whoremasters. Go out and vote. Yeah, go vote. The only votes I do are local. I don't vote for war criminals. But people that sell war and send you to war, if you're in their camp like the slime is, go out and vote.